Ask yourself, what is the highest kill game you ever got? 10, 15, or even 19? Can you get a solo squad game with 20 kills? Or consistently get high kill games in the 20s? Myth, Ninja, Daequan, and many other top tier streamers and players can easily average 20 kills solo squad games and win. If you want to average that 20 bomb and increase the number of high kill games you get, these are 5 tips that will help you achieve better solo squads and high kill games. Landing spot. Majority of the time you get 50% of your kills within the first 5 minutes of the game, because that's the time in which most players are around you. This all depends on the bus path, so you either need to choose the second or most populated landing spot. There are factors to consider, which are the time you drop, either at the beginning or end of the bus route, the cities in between, and the distance from the bus. If the drop is at the end of the bus path, there will always be a smaller amount of players no matter what, as most people tend to drop at the beginning to go to the closest place they can. If the bus starts at retail and ends at Tilted, there is a higher chance that retail will have more players than Tilted, even though Tilted is a more popular drop. Cities also matter. The biggest places are often the most crowded places, which are Tilted Towers, Retail Row, Pleasant Park, Dusty Divot, Salty Springs, and Greasy Grove. So even if the plane starts at Tomato Town and passes by Retail Row, more players will drop at retail due to the size of the city. Lastly, the distance of the drop site impacts the number of players too. If a big city like Greasy is across from the start of the bus route and Pleasant Park is at the end, barely any players will drop Greasy because of its distance, and many more players will drop Pleasant Park because the bus path is right on top of it. Looking at this map right now, the bus is starting at Moisty and it's ending in between Haunted Hills and Snobby Shores. Where do you think will have the most players? So we first start with cities. The 5 big cities that are near the bus are Retail Row, Salty Springs, Greasy Grove, Tilted Towers, and Pleasant Park. So we can cross out of the rest of the location. Now we do bus distance. While Retail Row, Greasy Grove, and Pleasant Park are all far away from the bus path, so we can cross those out from becoming the most populated drop too. Lastly, we do bus route from beginning to end. Because Salty Springs is closer to the beginning of the bus route than Tilted Towers is, we can conclude that Salty Springs will have more players than anywhere on the map. All you need to do every time you start up a game is logically think through the locations and see where the most players are, so you have a greater chance of killing a greater number of players. There are some other odd things you need to do at the beginning of the game, like finding a weapon easily. All you have to do is drop out a spot which guarantees a weapon, like a certain building or house. And you need to perfect your drop timing so you're one of the first persons to land, but both of those just come with time and practice. Rotations. After landing at your spot and wiping your city, you should have a good 5 to 10 kills. Any more is great, any less means you probably need to work harder to get the 20 kills you want. You need to find other squads and you need the best position to kill them. Rotations are predicting where enemy squads will be based on their zone and the bus path. For example, if you land Tilted and clear it, often the 3 squads you have to worry about is a squad at Snobby Shores / Stadium, the squad at Pleasant Park, or the squad at Shifty Shafts. To help predict that, take the zone into account. Most players will attempt to head to the center of the zone. So if the zone is a Junk Junction zone, the Snobby Shore squad won't be a problem, neither will the Pleasant Park squad be. However, the Shifty Shaft squad, needing to push up, will often head straight through Tilted. Timing is very important too. It will take longer for somebody to loot and come from Junk Junction for you to kill than a squad at Haunted Hills. So if you clear Pleasant Park and the zones below you, you'll have to wipe the Haunted Hills squad pretty soon, as Haunted Hills is looted much faster and Junk Junction is a much longer distance away. Lastly, take into account common paths or secondary looting spots from the place. Almost always, a squad that lands Prison will loot Moisty Mire and vice versa. Or a squad that finishes looting Lonely Lodge will often move towards containers or retail. There are times where you can be unlucky and no one lands at a location or they rotate weirdly, but more often than not, using timing, zone, and common paths, you can find other players. Squad wiping. When you're fighting squads, you're at a disadvantage. They are 4, you are 1. They get down, you get killed. To help you put the odds in your favor, here are a couple tricks to wiping squads. First, always fight them one at a time if you can. Never push more than 2 because they can outdamage you if they like. And as soon as you down a person, instantly kill them. It doesn't allow their teammates to revive them and gives you extra materials and ammo along with items, which can help you win the fight. It's not about being an asshole, because if he didn't push you alone or wasn't separated from the group, you wouldn't have been able to finish him. Now, I'm not saying always kill the downed player, but do so when you have the time in a one effector fight. In real life, it's illegal to have the intent of maiming a soldier without killing him, as it takes others out of the fight to help the soldier. So applying war crimes to Fortnite, you down a player to take 1 or 2 out of the fight to revive and protect the down player. This immensely raises the odds of winning the fight, as the other players will be too busy trying to protect their friend, making you fight a 1v1. And if they revive the friend, often you'll have no health remaining, or by that time, it will only be him left, in which case, you fight him 1v1. This is all about getting the same odds in a fight. Lastly, this is a weird tip, but I recommend only carrying one shotgun and an SMG. Often, I noticed if I or other players had 2 shotguns, they would push fights in which they were at a disadvantage because of the higher DPS, and they usually ended up dying. Carrying one shotgun makes you play a little slower and allows you to take smarter fights. Also, the extra slot can be used for a med or an explosive, because when you're fighting solo squads, you need to at least carry one shotgun, one AR, one sniper for those quick downs, and a high damage, depending if you can find it or not, explosive. You should also be carrying one source of healing, even if bandages are your only option. It allows you to get the upper hand in a fight when you have low health. Building. Building's the most important thing in Fortnite. Building gives you the upper hand in all fights, especially when you have the high ground. If you watch the prequels, you know what advantage the high ground gives you.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
Jokes aside, you need to know how to build. You should take a shot, build before your enemy can shoot, and then shoot again when you're in the clear. Use building to make fights in your favor. Only shoot when you can hit the enemy and not the other way around. If you don't have a clear shot or you take a lot of damage, don't go for the kill. Keep building until you're positive that you can take out the enemy with minimal damage being applied to you. Building's all about having the better position. You should never run out of materials. Always farm materials. 700 wood is when you should feel comfortable fighting in mid-game build battle. In early game, destroy all the furniture in your building to get an easy 200 wood. If you need to get better at building, I recommend you turn turbo building on, as it's been greatly buffed. If you need practice building, land at Moisty or Wailing in playground mode and farm materials and just practice doing basic structures. If you don't know what structures to build, watch professional streamers and players to get an idea of what type of builds to do. Lastly, you should push all build fights to get better and have more practice in case there will be a time where you're forced into a build battle. Aim! A necessary mention, aim. There's not much I can say here. If you do all the next steps perfectly, but your aim isn't good, you can't get high kill games. I'm not saying your aim has to be Shroud or Ninja level perfect, but you should be able to hit 70% of your shots. If you're struggling with your aim, lower your DPI, get a decent mouse and mouse pad, and practice. There's not much more you can do than that. These steps can help you greatly improve and win more games with a high amount of kills, and who knows, you might beat your personal best and get your highest kill game ever. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you like this type of content, please subscribe. In my description there will be a link to a funny moments video, which I put in a lot of time and effort to, a highlight reel with a bunch of good plays I did in Fortnite, and another opinion based video about Fortnite not dying. That's all for today. Dr. Football out.